The Mages League is formed. As the mages traveled through the lands to reunite themselves, there were many interactions similar to that of the Flame Scouts and the Fisherner. The legends of the Magi clan slowly turned from legend to history. To rebuild something similar to the Magi clan, those who decided to remain in the central outpost began calling themselves the Mages League, with a primary goal of spreading their teachings and understanding of magic in a hope of avoiding another war between Magnar and Nornir. The League decided to split their goals into three parts. 1. Research of magical abilities and spells. 2. Population outreach. And 3. Rebuild and reestablish connections to the rest of the outposts. Each of these parts would be known as a sect, the first, second, and third sects. The first sect began organizing a floor of the central outpost into a library, and began research on creating portals to regain access to the other outposts. The second sect gathered supplies and organized a traveling party to head to the nearest kingdom to learn the history of the land that they were a part of now. The third sect began establishing a main camp on the nearest coast of the central outpost to serve as a protective barrier to the rest of the world and for easier communication without having to board a ship frequently. Meanwhile, the rest of the world had become very accepting of magic. However, those who had practiced magic for those 60 years had been practicing imbuement rather than traditional spellcasting, and in a way lost the connection of traditional magics. The League would be extremely shocked to find that most Nornir were no longer scared of magic, since they themselves had spent their entire lives being told of the 2-year war by their parents and their grandparents. What was even more shocking was to learn of imbuement, as the League mages had never attempted anything of this sort. Word was sent back to the League's headquarters. By this time, the first sect had been able to re-establish portals to the other outposts. Upon their return, the third sect distributed papers that described how to perform a weak portal spell to make communication easier. Using the portal spell to return to the wilderness just outside of the city, a small group of League mages walked into the city with a large wagon full of advanced tools from the Fire Mages outpost. They were looking to trade these for imbued artifacts so that they might bring them back to the League headquarters for further study. Seeing as imbued artifacts were very uncommon, the only offer that was made came from two hooded figures that agreed to provide the League mages with an imbued artifact so long as the couple could be transported back to wherever the Mages League was located. The League mages were hesitant to agree, but a small child squirmed their way to the front of the couple as the woman said that they had nowhere else to go. It was obvious that these were the child's parents, and they had been running for days from something. The League mages discussed it between themselves and agreed that the second set would be very interested to talk to the family. Plus, the League would be able to get an imbued artifact for study. So the League mages agreed to take them back with them to their headquarters. But with knowing so little about the strangers, the League mages decided to make the journey back on foot. 6 days into the journey, the group was attacked by bandits. The mother and father quickly pulled their child behind them and held their fists up to the bandits ready to fight. In the brawling, a bandit grabbed hold of the mother and removed her hood and yelled out, "See, I told you fools, an elf! Grab 'em all!" The mom kicked the bandit in the groin, and he fell to the ground, gasping for air. Just as the rest of the bandits were about to retaliate, the League mages created a ring of fire around themselves and the family they had been traveling with as to create a stalemate. One of the League mages agreed to leave the bandits unharmed if they would leave them be, otherwise guaranteed that each bandit would be burned to a crisp. The bandits, standing in awe of the fire, agreed to leave peacefully. No Nur had seen magic this powerful since the 2-year war, and as such must have frightened the bandits. The Elvish family brushed themselves off and put their hoods on. Both the mother and father knelt to see that their daughter was all right. As the League mages and the Elvish family continued their journey, one of the League mages began walking beside the mother and asked her why the bandit was so excited to find an elf. The family all recoiled in confusion of the question, as if their traveling companions had come from another world. But the League mages explained that they were the descendants of the Magnar those many years ago. The Elvish girl made the astute remark, "That must be why your magic is so intense." So the League mages explained that they had spent their entire lives studying magic and that they had to have it to survive. The League mages and the Elvish family had reached the third sect checkpoint, and while waiting for an imbued artifact, the Elvish father and mother admitted they had no artifact. This infuriated the League mages, but before the League members could say anything, the Elvish daughter's hands were glowing as she held a twig she found on the ground. She then looked up and in a cheery voice said, "Here you go," and one of the League members asked her what it did, and she replied, "I don't know. How about you take it from me?" So in a playful way, the League member chuckled and they grabbed the twig. As soon as the girl let go of the twig, the League member fell to the ground, unable to pick up their own arm. Pinned down by the immense force of the twig, in a blood-curdling scream, the League mage yelled out for help, and the little girl picked it up with 2 fingers. While the mage was rolling around screaming in pain, all the other League members were frozen from shock to see such a young child be able to perform such a powerful perspective spell into the twig. Accommodations were made immediately for the family to live in the most luxurious rooms of the League headquarters. After stepping foot inside, the family was shocked to see so many different types of Nur in one place. For them, they had never seen so many other elves at once.